Welcome to the Gaggle, where we talk politics inside of Arizona and beyond. This week on the Gaggle, we have a new recording of a key lobbyist talking about her plans for the state school voucher style program. Teachers are getting ready to set a date to strike, but first, Governor Ducey took President Trump's cue and has sent about 300 or so guardsmen down to the border. What's his intent there, Ryan?
Well, it's a little unclear. He posed for a photo op yesterday and had a few quick words for the National Guard troops that are going to be heading down there. But they're still waiting to hear from the Border Patrol on really what those folks are needed for. So exactly what kind of people and what roles they might play. But the overall intent there is that those troops would take care of sort of the day-to-day operations, and it would allow more Border Patrol folks to operate in the field to stop illegal crossings.
And it seems, at least through Ducey's tenure, he's tried to focus on trying to stop the flow of illegal drugs, illegal human trafficking. Does this seem to run counter to that message?
Well, he took some pretty sharp questions from reporters afterwards, asking why is this needed? Border crossings have been on the decline for years, and he said that there was a 200% increase in the month of March compared with March of last year. And then he tied this into the opioid crisis, actually, saying that the precursors and the drugs coming over the border are leading to fatalities in Arizona, and that we should all do anything we can to stop those crossings.
Interesting. Well, we'll follow your reporting on it. He has not answered sharp questions from reporters about what his plan is for the school voucher style program that was expanded last year. This is a signature policy from him. This allows all 1.1 million public school kids to be eligible to receive these voucher style debit cards, and caps it at about 30,000. There have been talks about potentially repealing it and replacing it with something different, thereby kicking the referendum off of the November 2018 ballot. Yep. You reported on a recording of Kathy Herod, president of Center for Arizona Policy, speaking frankly last year about this program. What did you learn?
Well, basically, I mean, what was really interesting is just how frankly she spoke on the tape. You know, lobbyists tend to be, you know, very polished, have talking points, and she was speaking very off the cuff, particularly on two issues. One, the idea that she's totally opposed to any release of private school testing data. You know, they want the public money for private schools, but they don't want to have to test and report that information. And then two, she talked about expanding private schools with the public money. So like expanding the schools and also opening new ones.
And this came during a phone call with Christian school operators. She later sent out a newsletter to CAP supporters, and what did she have to say about the report?
Well, she called us fake news, and she called it a joke, and said she has said many of these things publicly, you know, before. But I mean, the thing is I don't know that she said all of that publicly, and she certainly hasn't said all that publicly in that tone, the way she said it on the tape.
And if you subscribe to the Gaggle podcast, you can listen to a full recording, about 30 minutes of that phone call. Ricardo, you have news just in. We might have a potential walkout date for teachers.
So Arizona Educators United, the grassroots teacher-led group that's fueling, you know, the Red Fred movement here, late Monday night in a Facebook video to you know, their 42,000 members that they have, you know, the organizers said that they're going to move forward with setting a date for a walkout. In that video, one of the organizers was saying that teachers ought to be having the discussions with their superintendents and school boards to, you know, solidify that support that they need to clearly, you know, effectively carry out a walkout. Noah Carvelis, one of the organizers and a music teacher here in the Valley, told us yesterday night that they're focused on the walk-ins, you know, these peaceful demonstrations that, you know, over 1,000 schools are expected to carry out Wednesday morning. But clearly, you know, the teachers have to do something, he said, because that they're not getting to the governor, the legislature. You know, both have been pretty silent for the last couple of weeks regarding what these teachers want, which is 20% raises. They want the restoration of education funding cuts over the last decade, which is about $1 billion.
Funding wise, is there even a mechanism to get that much money to these teachers?
In Arizona, the question's still out there, because I think realistically, this would take, raising taxes. This would take actions that clearly, Governor Ducey and the legislature, those who have control of the legislature, have shown little appetite and opposition towards doing.
So Gaggle watchers may need to budget a little extra money for babysitting over the next couple of weeks, perhaps?
It'll be interesting to see how this carries out and the scope of the walkout, because again, Arizona is a right-to-work state, so the success of whatever escalated job action that these teachers take is going to depend, pretty severely on whether they have school boards and school superintendents on board.
Well, thank you for joining us. See you next week.